Return of the Mount Hua Sect, Chapter 242. To give us this so generously. Bring these out. A loud voice resounded throughout the training hall. In response to the huge force with which it was said, the second and third class disciples of Mount Hua shrugged in unison. I had gone out for just 1 month, so you didn't complete your tasks and simply played around. This is why I cannot leave from here. Biga looked forward with blank eyes. This is unfair. This is upsetting. They definitely weren't playing around when Chongmyung and the others had gone out. Rather, they had practiced more than usual not to get caught, but they still got scolded. No, this wasn't right. No matter how much they had practiced, they would still get yelled at by Chongmyung, so this shouldn't be a situation where they felt shame. Rather, this was as expected. So, what was wrong? Biga raised his head and looked at the man shouting at them. Why is it Sahyung? The scene was familiar, but it was an unfamiliar face, because the person in front of them wasn't Chongmyung, but Biga. Sahyung! Biga went towards Biga, and Biga, who saw his shining eyes, shrugged and flinched. No, Sahyung, you were away for just 1 month, so why did you turn into Chongmyung? This is shocking. However, Chongmyung, whom he was most worried about, simply didn't seem to care. Biga, Yu Yisol, Yunjong, and Jogul were all there, urging the second-class disciples and third-class disciples, while Chongmyung was lying under the shade of the tree in the back. Just what the hell is happening here? You don't have the skills to utilize those pills. What on earth did you do for a month that made you have no progress at all? You have all become stagnant. Stagnant? Us? It was then. Biga spoke to Biga in an angry voice. Biga! Yes, Sahyung. What were you doing? Me? Biga looked at Biga with a blank face. If I am absent, you are the disciple who is supposed to be in charge of them. How could you not tell them? No. What is it that you've been spewing for a while now? No. What is it that you've been spewing for a while now? Actually, Biga wasn't someone who would say such things to Biga, at least not so directly. But why? Why did these people come back so different? Biga came up with even more of such things. Each time he spoke, something more cringe came out. I have nothing to say. Biga drew his sword and pointed it up. First, we head out to train. The people who reach the peak last will run once more. Run! Me! I'll go first! After a brief pause, the disciples began to run up to the peak with all their might. Biga clicked his tongue, and Yunjong, who watched it, quietly turned his head and looked at the Chong disciples. What are you guys doing? Since the Sasuks headed off towards Anak Peak, you guys head towards Yunhua Peak. Since half of the Sasuks will run back again, you guys... Yeah. Yunjong smiled brightly. Except for 10 of you, the others will head back and run again. Go! I said go! A few disciples understood what was happening and began to start running towards the Yunhua Peak. The rest of the people who saw it belatedly realized the situation and started running behind them. Even while they were running at full power, their mouths seemed to work fine. No! Why is Sasuke doing this? Why isn't Jogul Sahyung stopping him? How can I know? Chongmyung, who had heard all of it, didn't say a thing. But it was Biga and Yunjong who were doing this. They were the people who were tormenting them. Just what is this bizarre situation? Seeing the disciples run away, Yunjong clicked his tongue. Yunjong shook his head a couple of times and then looked at Biga and said, Sasuke. Biga sighed and spoke with a tone of irritation. I can see why Chongmyung was always so eager to eat us up. We were away for just a month. Look at them. I can sort of understand it a bit too now. Just a tiny bit. Baekchun's eyes shone. 3 days. Just in 3 days, I will set them in line. Chungmyung, who was watching this scene from behind, smiled. By now, the behavior of Baekchun, Yoonjong, Jogul, and Yoo Yi-seol had shocked the other disciples completely. Although they had only been to Yunnan, they couldn't help but be shocked when the disciples on Mount Hua were all looking weak. The reason for their emotions was just one factor. They haven't seen what true strength is. Strength was relative. Baekchun and the others were constantly beaten on the way to Yunnan. No, Chungmyung had trained them. Thanks to that, what they were now couldn't be compared to how they were before they had left Mount Hua. Apart from their training, they had also taken the Soul Vitality pill before leaving Mount Hua, and their bodies had become much better. In other words, their visit to Yunnan had contributed to their growth. But was that all? While watching Chungmyung and the Tang family lord spar, they understood the level of power they had to aim for. And when he fought against the elder of the Tang family, they felt what a real battle was like. Besides that, they had also seen firsthand the strength of the Beast Palace Lord and his soldiers. If their understanding of what true strength was hadn't risen, then that would have been weirder. So how couldn't they turn angry when they saw the disciples who hadn't changed much since they had left? Perhaps from now on, Baekchun and Yoonjong will push them to the level they think was enough. Right, this is how a sect grows strong. When a master who was never before seen appears, he would proceed to hold on to others around him until it satisfied him. Similarly, those who get stronger because of the master would do the same. If this progress was repeated several times, everyone would have to go through the same thing. Then, of course, people would become strong. Now, Chungmyung's stream, which had touched Baekchun and Yoonjong, had finally begun to flow down. At this point, all Chungmyung had to do was to watch and correct any mistakes they made, little by little. In just 1 year, everyone will train on their own. Only then would Mount Hua be able to call itself a good sect. A prestigious sect didn't refer to a place that was excellent, but rather pointed to one that had the resources to generate success for generations. Chungmyung smiled. I can rest a little more comfortably now. It was always fun to watch the seeds he had sown germinate. If the current atmosphere of Mount Hua was utilized and the pills made their way in, Mount Hua would grow rapidly. Then, it won't be long before the former fame of Chungmyung! Chungmyung turned his head. He could see the sect leader and the elders running from afar along with the medicine hall head. Seeing their desperate faces, he sighed. Can I ever be comfortable at all? Something must have happened again. Might as well work myself to death. Chungmyung raised his head and looked at the sky. Sayoung, look at the mess the sect is in, huh? Seeing me like this, does this make you happy? It felt like he could hear the laughter of his Sayoung. Don't act so nice, you bastard. Even if you put them all together, it doesn't come close to the pain I had to go through to deal with you. Chungmyung got up. At that moment, the sect leader, along with Eungak and the other elders, arrived. Nodding his head, he said, I greet the sect leader. No, now isn't the time to do this. Huh? Come with us. You need to see this. The sect leader grabbed Chungmyung and began to run. Chungmyung, who was now in the air because the sect leader was holding him by his neck, smiled as he thought. This guy has gotten a lot more aggressive. Look, what should we do about this? Chungmyung looked at the huge pot in front of him with deep eyes. What is this? Look carefully. Inside. Huh? Chungmyung moved ahead and looked at the bottom of the pot. Huh? Why is it cracked? Did someone punch it? Not with a fist. We infused ki into it. Huh? Into the pot. Not a sword, but into a pot? Are you trying to invent some kind of new technique that uses pots? No. Hyunjong hit his chest as though he was frustrated. and Eungak, who was next to him, tried to explain. This is the process that can be said to be the most unique when making the soul vitality pill. Of course, the materials are rare, but this is different. The final step is for the pill to be heated with ki. What is so different? I don't know the exact mechanism. It seems like the ki seeps into the pill and purifies it. Huh? Is that even possible? Man, that yaksun was quite good. Interesting. So, before we went ahead and did something wrong, just in case, I wanted to try it and asked the sect leader to do it. But the pot couldn't stand it. This is the third pot already. If we hadn't tested it, we would have wasted all the ingredients. So basically, Chongmyung scratched his head. In order to make the pill, there is a need to infuse ki into the pot, but such an iron pot is unable to handle ki. Yes. Then can't we make a pot with the same metal we use for swords? Swords and pots have different casting methods. Basically, a sword requires a process of hammering, folding, and flattening, but it'd be too difficult to make a pot of this size using that method. I asked Tang Soso, but even she said that it would be difficult for the Tang family. Then, I think we should just use a cold iron metal, but it is rare to find it and even rarer to get enough to make such a huge pot. Can't we make small batches in small pots? Eungak shook his head. It isn't that I haven't thought about doing that, but making a single batch properly is the best way to go about this. As the amount changes, even if it is a small amount, the effect it would have is unknown. This was the dilemma. Then the bottom line is that you have to find a material that is strong enough to withstand the enormous ki the pot has to be infused with. Right. Haha. Chongmyung's face began to heat up. No, what is this? He would solve one problem and another would pop up. And when he would solve that, another one would come. Chongmyung felt the onset of a seizure. But then he suddenly stopped and tilted his head. Iron that is special enough to withstand ki. Wouldn't just that be enough to make a pot like this? Then, for example, something like millennial cold iron. Right, there is nothing better than something like that. It isn't easy, so we decided to talk about it with you first. Can you think of a way to get this done quickly? Ah, quickly? Hyunjong let out a deep sigh when he saw Chongmyung laughing. Yeah, even if it's you, to get such precious things in large quantities is impossible. Let's talk with Elder Huang today. Huh? Not today. I'll bring it tomorrow. Seeing Chongmyung speak this confidently, Hyunjong was shocked. What will you bring? Millennial cold iron. Do you want me to make it into a pot for you? Hyunjong and Eungak stared at Chongmyung blankly. Has this guy lost it all? They looked at Chongmyung with their eyes wide open. However, Chongmyung just smiled when he saw their reaction. Cold iron? Right, I know somewhere where we can get a huge quantity.